Good Monday morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for Monday, September 30th. We have ended our fire potential briefings, which were ongoing 7 days a week during fire season. Now in the off season, from October through most of May, on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we'll be issuing a Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing with weather focused more on prescribed burning and dispersion conditions, and also some fuel dryness. But if you have any more detailed questions, please feel free to give us a call at the Great Basin Coordination Center and ask for a meteorologist from Predictive Services. Great Basin fire activity, prescribed fires in the purple, quite a bit of activity up here in the Payette and the Boise National Forest, also up in eastern Idaho, western Wyoming, south central Idaho, northern Utah, and a larger scale burn down here in southern Nevada. Looking at precipitation over the past 7 days, quite wet across northeastern Nevada, northern Utah, eastern Idaho, and western Wyoming. The dark greens to yellows indicate a 3/4 of an inch to locally over 1.5 inches of precipitation. That's much wetter than the normal. Much drier than normal conditions continued across southern portions of Nevada, southern and central portions of Utah as well as far southwest Idaho. Kind of missed out on most of the precipitation, so surface fuels in those areas are drier, whereas in these purple areas here, anywhere we had significant rainfall, a bit of drying needed before you really hit good large-scale burning conditions, especially in the timber. Now, a lot of this precipitation up north came in the form of snowfall. These yellow to orange shades indicate anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of snowfall. The darker oranges indicate locally 18 to 24 inches of snow. All across the Rubies and the higher terrain of the Uintas, got anywhere from about 4 to 8 inches of snowfall with this last system. So some snow cover definitely on the ground above about 6,000 to 7,000 feet in the higher terrain. You can see the snow depth map here on the right-hand side. The lighter shades of blue indicate about 4 to 8 inches of snowfall, snowpack, and locally closer to a foot up here in these darker shades of blue. Now, 10-hour fuel moisture definitely took a hit up in the north. Percentages are really high, but once again to central Utah, where they did not get as much precipitation, 10-hour fuels are 5 to 6%, so from there on southwards things should ignite pretty quickly. Satellite imagery shows a deep January-like storm system centered over eastern Oregon, still spinning clouds and some moisture into northern areas, so expect more instability showers, mostly in the form of snow, higher terrain of Idaho and Wyoming later today. Otherwise breezy conditions in central and southern areas. Good overall dispersion though with that low. So for today there's the upper level low. By this afternoon lifts further northwards into northern Montana. Dispersion index overall pretty good to excellent. We see the white to yellow shades. We see transport winds basically coming out of the southwest through here, very light, where you see the purple shades less than 4 miles an hour, but here in southern Utah, southwest, and we see the dark green to oranges. That's about anywhere from 20 to 24 miles per hour. Vertical dispersion here, the darker the colors are, the better the overall vertical dispersion, getting several thousand feet up. On Tuesday, that low pressure system still kind of lingers and stalls out across northern Montana. Still excellent overall dispersion. Wind flow still light transport winds. Best transport will be across central and eastern Utah from the south and southwest at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Otherwise, very light transport flow. Vertical dispersion, though, where you see the yellow to orange shades, should still be a couple of thousand feet. As we go into Wednesday, that low lifts out. We get a weak ridging coming in, drier air pushing in finally across the area. Dispersion starts to take a little bit of a nosedive. Not so bad in the yellow, but when we get into the red, that's where dispersion starts to decrease a little bit. You can see light winds, mixing heights not quite as high, although they'll be higher across the Uintas and both the higher terrain and the Uinta Basin in those areas. But overall, not much wind. So that's going to be a questionable day. For Utah, the Utah Clearing Index shows excellent overall dispersion where you see the red marginal where you see the blue to green colors, so it's definitely further to the east. Similar story for Tuesday. It's Wednesday where dispersion starts to take a bit of a nosedive in some areas, but still remains moderate to good across the higher terrain areas of central and southern Utah. Now, precipitation over the next 3 days, this will be Monday through Wednesday night. You can see here maybe another 1/10 of an inch or so, so maybe an inch of snow at the higher terrain of Idaho and into parts of western Wyoming, and a light dusting over the highest terrain of Nevada in the north, otherwise drying out. Deep monsoonal tap stays well to our south and east. Thursday, we see breezy but drier conditions coming in. The moisture stays up in Washington state and far northern Idaho, so we start drying things out. As that low comes in, we see improved overall dispersion. We see the areas in the white. Similar story on Friday. A bit of moisture, maybe skirts far northern Utah, but otherwise stays dry further south. And then on Saturday, we're kind of in between low pressure to the north and a weak ridge of high pressure along the west coast. Still moderately good ventilation dispersion where you see the areas in the white, and things will be on the drier side. Sunday, big high pressure builds along the west coast. We'll still have a northwest flow coming in of somewhat cooler air, but dry, where you see the drier air mass colors. You see the ventilation index of the dispersion starts to decrease and get a little worse, where you see the areas in the red, still good, areas in the white. Days 4 and 5, precipitation. I see some of that precip up in the mountain central Idaho, mix of rain and snow showers. Could be another 1 to 3 inches of snow in the highest terrain. Otherwise dry, most other areas. And days 6 and 7, this will be Saturday evening through Monday evening, pretty dry across all areas. The 8 to 14 day outlook. First of all, on the right-hand side, drier than normal signal across the Great Basin. So should be some prolonged drying and possibly some better and more improved smoke dispersion conditions, or actually burning conditions for dryness. Because of the cooler than normal temperatures, we'll be in the vicinity of a trough of low pressure. So at this point, there could be some decent dispersion along with it. So it looks like October 7th to 13th looks pretty promising for a lot of areas for getting some prescribed burning in. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.